Hi, thanks for tuning into my channel. And today I'm going to discuss what I see on my iPhone. So I happened to be in Washington, D.C. last week, and I went to the African American History and Cultural Museum. And I took some photos of things that inspired me, and that's what I'm going to share. So the first thing that you do when you get there is you will be impressed by the architecture of the museum. It is beautiful. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. So let me share. You see, look at that design. It's really cool. You have to see it in person to actually see how cool it actually is. It was really beautiful. And yeah, that that was one thing. What was inside was even more amazing because it just makes you fall in love with the African American culture. It's really beautiful. It's a very nice museum for everybody to go see. Um, so first thing that I really loved was the value of education. Um, like like I come from Kenya, and like so many people, Africans really value education. Uh, Parents will sacrifice anything to get their kids educated, and the exact same thing here in America. um, African Americans still sacrificing everything to get their children education because they understand the value of education. And the thing is, all parents, uh, even the ones that were way ahead of us, the ones that lived in an enslaved society, they educated their kids. They really wanted their kids to be educated because they know that once you educate your child, you've done the job, you know. So um, education is that powerful. So I love it that they educated their kids, and that that value of culture is emphasized on the museum. That our value for education, that is highlighted in this museum. That is one of the things I love, 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 love. They did highlight some of the top educators, um, some of them being women. And I tell you, always love the fact that Black women are always at the forefront of education, educating Black girls like me to become better and to know who we are. I've always found my way home. When I was lost, I always found my way home, and it's because of very powerful women. So they featured Dorothy Haight and Mary McLeod Bethune right there. These women are powerful women. Yes. Sometimes I feel like I haven't done them enough to be proud of, but I'm still learning. Hey, I'm trying. Very well educated women, um, and you know, um, they helped other girls to get educated. Like this is McLeod Witten, with other girls that she was mentoring, helping to become successful women in society, right? Very, very powerful women. Um, Another powerful woman we see featured is Charlie Chisholm. So she was she was an everyday woman, decent woman, who said that everyday women, you know, can fight uh, of, to overcome a system by beating it with its own weapons. Um, you know, it was possible for someone with decency and a fighting spirit, right? Just a normal person with decency and a fighting spirit to overcome a system that has that has that is wrong, you know, kind of like these women asking us to better ourselves so that we can fight a system that is unfair, that is not doing justice. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. So, yes. And these women were very powerful. This is Mary McLeod advising the first lady of her time. And that's really powerful. Another place where we've seen education like do wonders for me, I love that, you know, seeing women taking part in education, instilling good values in the society, and fighting for what is obviously wrong, uh, uh, fighting against what is obviously wrong and what is obviously uh, not moral, you know, just taking that stand. I love to see that. You know, we do have to fight. I feel like we do have to fight a lot about the obvious. Like we fight the obvious every day. We shouldn't have to, but it's kind of like how messed up the world is these days. That's that. Another part where they have featured education in Black culture is, you know, having scientists demystify um, inferiority myth, the race myth, the myth of race inferiority. Um, yes, we have had to use science to prove those kinds of things, and we still have to use science to disprove any myth that people have of racial inferiority. We still have to do it, even today. So, if but I'm glad now we have a museum to remind us of our job. It's really it takes a lot of energy to keep doing this in society, but it's necessary. You never ever have to take anything for granted these days. Even your freedoms, don't take them for granted. You have to educate people about who you are. Like the way James Baldwin did. You know, he's also featured there. He's also featured in the African American Museum. This guy was very powerful. I like the way that he thinks because it's a very powerful way of thinking. And this is how he thinks. He looks at society telling him, you're this, you're that, you're that. And he says, that's not who I am. You don't know who I am. Whatever you're saying to me, I take it back to you. Back into the nothingness from whence it came. I know who I am. Guess what? You know, he became a civil rights activist because he understood that what society was telling him he is as a black man is not what he was. You know, they were choosing for him, and he knew who he is, and he was like, I am not a nigger. You are calling me something that I am not. And that is the power of education, knowing who you are, you know, and taking a stand, telling somebody, you're mistaken. You're telling me to be something that I am not. You're trying to condition me in a type of way, and I don't like it. And I am not who you think I am. That is powerful. That is powerful. So there is that, taking a stand, and I love that. What else did I love when it comes to education? Yeah, education has really taken a, a huge part. And yeah, and I think these are kind of values that Africans, people of African origin, share everywhere. We know who we are, and um, the world has tried to tell us to be something we are not. We keep telling them, mm-mm. So, you know, I don't think you understand me correctly. No, 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 no. I know who I am. Don't. Mm-mm. You know, this is something that we actually have had to do, if you think about it, for a very long time. A very long time. And it's gotta be done. You can't, you can't drop the ball. You can't drop the ball on this one. I'm telling you. It's maneno yote hapa. I liked Ben Carson was featured in this museum. Dr. Benjamin Carson. He overcame poverty, failing grades to become the world's most distinguished pediatric neurosurgeon, a passionate, renowned advocate for youth education. Let me tell you something. This man inspired me. When I was in Kenya, living in an orphanage, he inspired me to think big because I read his book. One of my teachers uh, brought me his book to read because he saw that there was something in me that I wanted to really change my life. And he brought me that book. And that book gave me wings, like it gave me wings. It helped me understand that this situation that I am in, it wasn't going to be permanent. If there is anybody who blessed me in my childhood, was that book. It really did. It taught me that I am here in a children's home. I don't have my parents. I only have my education, and I'm going to go for it, you know. And then there was that song by Joe, like, I'm a ghetto child. I believe that it can be done. Da, da, na, 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 na. That song inspired me to think that, hey, I'm here seated in an orphanage. Sometimes we don't even have good nutrition, but I will change my life somehow. And I can do it through education, bit by bit. And I want to thank Dr. Ben Carson um, for changing the life of an orphaned black girl somewhere in the universe. You made a very big difference for me. I love you and thank you. Because if it wasn't for that book, I could not have thought that, wait, actually I can educate myself and get myself a better life, you know. Before then, I was just trying to do math to pass time. But then when I realized that this is gonna be a game changer for me, that's when I realized, hey, wait, um, I gotta do this. And to see him featured in that museum, I really, really, it's personal for me. I love to see education being featured there. And another thing that I liked, and some of these things that I liked is probably because they suit my personality, but these are the things, there's a lot to see in that museum, but these are the things that stand out for me. So if you go there and something else drives you, share, like, comment, let us know what made you love the museum. So that's take a stand. People of African descent have had to take a stand. I mean, and I think other people around the world do take a stand on things that matter, but when it comes to our humanity, we have had to take a stand because I think people can take this for granted, but when if the world is when the world needs to change, and we have to be the agents of change, we have to make a stand. Um, some of the people that have had to make a stand, you know, we will start with like Muhammad Ali. You know, he didn't want to go to the war on Vietnam, and he made a stand, and the world was watching. The world was watching him, and he made that stand. You know, not gonna go. Hey, you know, and making a stand is powerful thing in this world, and and I can understand why he had to make that decision, because another man of his time also made a stand and said, you know what, I am not going to go to Vietnam. He says, I have business in Harlem, Watts, and Birmingham. I ain't gonna go. Hell no. You know, he said he's not gonna go. Yeah, and you know, when you have to fight for democracy, and many African American soldiers have went to war to fight for democracy for America, and then when they came back, they were enslaved. You know, like in 1942, the Pittsburgh Courier, an African American newspaper, launched the Double Victory campaign, which stood for Victory Abroad and Victory at Home. The Victory Abroad championed success against fascism overseas, and Victory at Home demanded equality for African Americans in the United States. The fight for a double victory has reverberated throughout the long history of the African American military experience. This gallery explores the history in three clusters: struggle for freedom, a segregated military, and stirrings of change. And that is huge, you know, um, when you make a stand. That I have seen, you know, the way society is, and I want to make a stand that things at home here are not good for me. So you want me to go fight for you and mistreat me back home? You know, he made a stand. He said no. That's why this man was like, I ain't gonna go. I have to change things here at home first before I go abroad to fight. You know, those were like big ways, you know. And why I like to share these things, because it's part of how we understand who we are. You know, when we go to a museum and see our history, see what people before us have managed in this society, it gives you strength to know how you wanna, the things you wanna see changed, and what you can do for you to make sure that the world is moving in the direction that you prefer, because you can do that. You're an agent of change, by the way, if you didn't know. um, and then, you know, we see Colin Powell's jacket being featured in the museum, and I mean the recognition. Can I show you one more time? You can see, well, it says Powell, right? Guys, finally, a black man being recognized, you know, and and for a long time this has not happened. We have seen, this is coming from a history where men would go fight overseas for American freedom and come back and be enslaved, right? And seeing that happen, You know, this shows you shows you how we can change society, that society can be changed. As mighty as it seems like today that people are not breaking through, people are not changing, people are changing. People are making small changes here and there, and it might seem like it's taking too long. But let me tell you, when you take a stand, things will move, you know, things will move. And things have changed, and I remember like seeing the photo in the museum of Mary uh, McLeod Bethune, when she says that America can be changed and it will be changed, and it has changed. A lot of things have changed since her time, and that goes to tell us that we can change a lot more. We can change even more than we think that we can change. Like, a lot more can change. Each and everybody in this planet is so powerful that they can change the world in their own little way. They can move the world in a positive direction. And, you know, it has. A lot of people coming together deciding that they want change is very important, because that's how the world knows, okay, somebody took a stand. Probably we need to follow that person because they're headed the right way. I feel the same way, kinda. That's how people change. And then um, another place where we see people making a change is in the Olympics. You know, um, we have used sports to make changes, because of the exemplary display of conduct by African Americans when it comes to Olympic Games. um, it gives an opportunity to display, character, discipline, intellectual capacity, you know, all those avenues that they have used to show, um, to communicate change. I'll show you this photo right here that I have on my iPhone. It's also featured in the museum. Everything I'm showing here is featured in the museum. And this this was a very powerful message sent um, by the Olympians when it comes to communicating um, the conditions that African Americans were facing at home, of poverty, you know, and hard times that they were going through. They sent a strong message to the world that they wanted to change. you know they see, and it's a non-violent way of communicating that things need to change. you know those powerful messages, when even art, you know even communicating, when they are getting their medals, that things really needed to change. um, it's amazing. So let me read something here. um, this happened in October 1986 at the Olympics in Mexico City. Tommie Smith, John Carlos won the gold and bronze medals for the 200-meter sprint. On the podium, with their medals around their necks, they turned to face the American flag and stretched their gloved fists like that in an arc to the sky, Universal History Archive, Getty Images. And what were they communicating? I'll tell you this powerful stuff here. On October 1968, sorry, I have dyslexia. On October 16, 1986, Tommy Smith, John Carlos, and Australian Peter Norman staged one of the most iconic, important protests against racial discrimination. Shoeless and dressed in black socks, each American athlete wore a black glove on one hand. Smith and Carlos stretched the two black gloves high into the sky to symbolize power, power and unity. Smith wore a scarf that signified blackness. The black socks stressed the poverty plaguing a black America, and their bowed heads represented their prayer for the black Americans. That image right there, in case you forgot it. You know, it's powerful things like this that make the world change, and we should be talking about them because they are that important. You know, we see the NBA players making a stand. You know, I can't breathe. You know, that was, I think, was Floyd. Said he can't breathe so many times. It took 9 minutes. Sometimes when I think about how much time it took to kill Floyd, I get upset because I drive 10 minutes to go to the coffee shop that I normally go to, and there are stop signs. And I imagine every stop sign, that was a moment to stop. Every stop sign, there was a moment to stop, actually just stop. And he communicated he cannot breathe. If somebody's telling you they cannot breathe, breath is life. Let me not go into that because it gets very upsetting when you think about us having to fight ignorance with very we just have to be patient with the world, because sometimes it'll test you. You know, when you're fighting ignorance at this level, you gotta be patient, so that you stay sane, just so you can stay sane. You gotta fight it, but then you gotta stay sane, because over time we believe change will happen. You know, yes, we will hold them accountable, we'll do all those things, but you really have to be patient. And the way I like to teach about overcoming trauma is because you can do it yourself. You know, I never thought that in my life I would even talk this calmly about a situation like this, because it always made me so upset. But it is upsetting, but I refuse to give ignorant people the power to disturb my sanity and my psyche. I know who I am. I know what is wrong and right. They do not. They are the ones that need a lesson, not me. I need to teach and educate them. And as an educator, I realize that I now have to be patient when educating. And uh, it is that kind of shift that I like people to make every day. That I love to see my students make that shift. That shift when, because I used to be angry, but then as I mature up and I start understanding that I just cannot be angry when I am the educator. I have to be calm. I have to point out where I think things are not going right, and that shift for me is overcoming the trauma and now becoming a teacher and now becoming um, the person that I want to be. So what I liked about the African American Museum also was the mothership. I think um, I like this because it symbolizes um, healing, um, healing from the trauma of the past. Um, um, uh, it is a nice way to wish that there is a ship that can come and transport you from racism, earthly constraints, and this is a huge symbol of liberating music. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, because there is a mothership that can transport you out of racism in this society today. I just love it because there is a mothership that can transport you out of poverty today. And the power of spirituality, the power of you knowing who you are, that is the boat that takes you out of this world into another world, another dimension where you just see things as they are and you don't get tied into it. um, I have had to work on my traumas, and when I worked on my traumas and when I stopped getting angry at what I see in the world and deciding to do something about it, that's when I feel like I got empowered. You can get empowered even when the world is the way it is. And I can show you how. Even when the world is the way it is, you can get empowered in a way that it doesn't bother you at all. That's spirituality at its highest level. And that's the mothership that you need to jump into so that it stops the world. You leave this whole world behind. There is a way you can do it. While you're on this world, there is a way that you can unburden yourself and find peace and love. And that's the ship we need to get into, the unburdening ones. You just don't catch things. And yeah, it's possible. You can do it. And we should be talking about this mothership. Really, it's unburdening. The unburdening. There is a way to live life like that. Um, So I will leave my message right there. And don't forget, this is possible in today's society. you know there is a lot of possibilities out there, and you just have to trust that sometimes there are people who can show you the way, and this is reality.